Oh man. Hey, what's happening, Ward Wrestling Live? We are here and we have another amazing wrestling mind in our country here with us today. And I'm just absolutely honored that she said yes. Uh, Not too many girls say yes to me, so I'm glad you did. And and we're on. And we have Coach Amy Hildebrandt. She just took over Trine University, who is one of the first NCAA sanctioned programs. They're a D3 program now, so women have entered D3, D2, hopefully D1, and doing big things. But she was the Penn High School women's coach for a long time. She did 2 state titles there, 4 state champs there as the head coach. She also graduated from there and did some good things that we'll talk about. And then she went on to the high-powered Boilermakers, Purdue University, and now she's here with us, and she just took over Trine University. I think I probably said that already, but yeah, my gray hair is helping me lose my brain cells. But hey, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. It's really cool to have you, cool to meet you, cool to see what you're doing and read about you, but welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, fun. I went back and read stories about you, and I was reading all cool stuff and the avenue that you came up and came through. But first of all, obviously, this summer was a little bit different than most for you.
Yeah, definitely very crazy. Well, I feel like it was different for everyone.
Yeah, not just you.
Yeah, not just me. Everyone's probably like, what the heck are we doing? What's going on in the world? But it was definitely an interesting experience, kind of moving on to the next stage of my life during all the craziness that is 2020. But I feel like it's just going to mean that everything's going to be easier from here. So just make it over this mountain, and then the rest will be smooth sailing, hopefully.
Yeah, that's cool. And I know, so some people will say bad, no wrestling, not consistent, no tournaments. Some people would say good, a little more family time, got to be home, got to visit people. Kind of a little bit of both for you?
Yeah, well, I think definitely you can find good in everything, like you can find bad in everything. So actually during the bulk of quarantine, I was living with my sister in Colorado Springs. So I was able to still like wrestle because she couldn't wrestle with anyone at the Olympic Training Center. So she just beat me up every day, and that's kind of how that went. So yeah, there's some good things, definitely. I learned a lot just from drilling with her every day, and she'd take the time to coach me and stuff. So there's good things there. And getting to see her is hard too, because we just live in different states. But yeah, it was definitely sad. No Olympics. That would have been awesome. I really want to go to Japan. And then my younger brother was supposed to compete at nationals, D1 nationals. I was looking forward to that. And then just, my heart really goes out to all the girls coming up, the graduating seniors. They wanted to compete in Fargo or something like that, and they weren't able to. So there's definitely some lows, but it was cool. Some of my experiences during quarantine were definitely awesome.
Yeah, and Colorado doesn't suck. It's a beautiful place. I've never been to the Springs part, but we go up to this year. It got kind of, it's weird how things happen. We usually go up the first week of January every year, and we take the kids skiing during Christmas break. But because he was a freshman, the last 2 years, 7th and 8th grade wrestling, nobody cared if he was there or not. So we'd miss a tournament that week and he'd go wrestle. But he was starting to feel himself a little bit this year, so we didn't want to do that to him. So we didn't set up our winter break. We said we'll go spring break. Well, March 13th happened, and that's when everything went down. That's when we were supposed to fly up to Colorado and do that. So it's weird. It got moved and then it got messed up. But yeah, Colorado definitely doesn't. So I say there's I think Colorado is the real heaven, like at the mountain. It's just beautiful there. So it couldn't have been too bad. Plus being with your sibling, that's cool. What does it mean? Obviously you have been a part of Indiana wrestling, whether youth, cadet, child, adult. I mean, you have been involved in Indiana wrestling forever, building programs, building yourself, coaching your siblings. I mean, however you're doing it, you're involved in it. What has always kept you home? Like even now, taking over the college program, it's home. I'm sure there's many other places in this country that could have been your pathway, but it seems like you're really passionate about doing it all there.
Yeah, so actually, there's quite a few things. I just love Indiana as a state. I think that's probably not something you hear most people say, but I grew up here. I really love it. I like the people. And I think my wrestling circle, while it's gotten bigger and I've gotten the opportunity to meet a lot of super intelligent people and just helpful and kind people in the wrestling community from all over the country. Um, but I will always go back to like my coach and Coach Harper, for example, has done so much for wrestling and just someone I look up to, and I just love to be around him. And he's kind of who got me started in wrestling, got me back into wrestling. And I like that environment. It's so nice that I can, right now I'm only an hour away. If I ever want to, I can just drive up and we can go wrestle or something like that. We can work through a technique, and being able to do that is just, I wouldn't ever want to replace that. It's so valuable to me. So that's one of the reasons I've kind of stuck around. I know everyone, and I want to help Indiana wrestling get to where some of the other women's wrestling states are, because Indiana high school wrestling isn't sanctioned yet. And so just being able to be there from the very beginning when there was 0 women's teams, right? Penn was the first, women's team. And then being there when it gets sanctioned and it's like an official high school sport is, I want to see the goal through.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine you could have wrestled at some level in college. You probably could have went off to an NAIA program and continued your wrestling athletic career at that level, but you even decided to stay home, go to Purdue, pursue higher education. And then something funny that I read, you were like, I miss wrestling so much. I asked the team, can I work at some capacity or volunteer or do something? That had to be pretty fun. So you got to travel with the team, be at practices, do your thing. And you had to, so I ask people, so you had the experience, which is the wrestler, and then you had the observation, which is obviously the path you took to be an amazing coach. How much traveling with the Boilermakers did you learn and did you take in and did you see and did you get a chance to kind of roll around at practice, and how much fun was that?
It was really fun. Definitely a little draining. I think a lot of what I learned wasn't necessarily wrestling and technique. I did learn that, don't get me wrong, but how a program works and like the impact it has on athletes, all that traveling. Like we would take buses on the weekends. You don't really get weekends as a student athlete, So just being able to see all of that was very interesting. I didn't ever wrestle with the guys. They're a bit intense.
Yeah.
But it was cool, and seeing like the parent side, the media side, working with film. I did a lot of the film stuff, and just like the whole coaching staff. I got to know everything they do and really see at college it's different than high school, how like, how seriously it's taken. It's a professional kind of experience. So it was interesting to see it from that perspective, where I'd always been kind of a student of the sport, where I'd watch and I'd learn, I'd remember stuff or see a situation and be like, this is the position you need to be in. This was an entirely different side of wrestling I hadn't known at the time necessarily. So it was really cool getting to travel with Purdue's team and just meet the kids there. It's such a great bunch of wrestlers. And
you were obviously able to, I mean, so first, and we'll get into it, and then of course we'll talk about your new program and of course do all that. But I mean, you started I was going to say, how much coaching did they allow you to do? Did some of the guys, because I mean, you started coaching at like a sophomore in high school. You were already coaching a girls team. You were like the athlete coach because you were building the girls team. But did you ever like, hey, dude, I was watching your match like yesterday, and your underhook really sucked. Like you should really try this. Right? And they're like,
Oh,
who are you? Right. And you're like, well, I'm pretty good at this. Like, just listen to me. And no,
oh no,
did that ever
that
happen?
that would be hilarious. No, I don't think I would have ever felt comfortable doing that. And they were great wrestlers at Purdue anyways. They didn't need my help that much, but
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, hey, your shot sucks, dude. Like you really got to work on it.
Oh,
Talking
thankfully I
about
didn't have to say that.
you're 17 years old. What do you know, right? Like, you're only 19 and your shot sucks. I'm just trying to help you out. But that's funny. Um, Man, so obviously, I mean, coaching, that's the avenue you took. You obviously fell in love with that aspect of the sport. Um, I mean, talk about no girls wrestling in Indiana. There's no women's programs. I was reading an article where you were like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I can be on a boys team, but that wasn't my aspiration to wrestle boys. My aspiration was to create girls programs. And um, so there's no girls program at your school. You're in high school. I mean, tell us what happens next.
Yeah, well, I really wasn't interested in wrestling boys. In fact, it almost turned me off completely from the sport because I was like, it's not even fun, especially as you get older. As a kid, it's okay, but as you get older, everything changes and it's like impossible to keep up almost, it seems like. So I wasn't interested in that, and I felt like wrestling culture in general just wasn't super inviting. But maybe that was just me. I was shy. So when Coach Harper came up to me and asked, "Hey, we need, there's a future for women's wrestling," and I was like, "Okay, whatever. Like, this is really casual. We'll try it." And we tried that, and I fell in love with it. Like you said, it was something I was like, "This is so fun." I started to see it more as like, learning the technique in detail and just kind of taking my time with it instead of being like thrust into wrestling, even though I had been a part of the wrestling world for a long time at that point. Just going kind of back to those basics and doing it slowly and making it like my team was so important in kind of fostering that love of the sport as well as like my drive to kind of grow it. And that's why when I started to realize this is something anyone can do, I could take people who have never done a sport in their life and be like, hey, come learn wrestling. Just come be a part of something, come be a part of a team growing something that's kind of bigger than you. And a lot of people want to do that. So it wasn't too hard to find girls who wanted to come give it a shot from there. And obviously I had a lot of background in wrestling. I had known it. We wrestle in my living room like every time I see my family. So I was
Still
comfortable and
today?
familiar. Oh yeah, probably more today than we used to. But yeah, I was comfortable with helping girls out, and I would explain to them like, here's I would walk around the room and pretty much coach, even though I was also competing. And I think that's kind of where I was like, this is something I could do. This is something I like to do. And from there it just kind of took off.
Yeah, and I think it's great because I think that there's a lot of amazing coaches out there that played a sport to a certain level and but their passion was really not to be the athlete. It was to be the like the creator of men and women to help people grow, to teach people something, to and a lot of the coaches, even the coaches now that were Olympic champions, say that coaching a kid and watching them succeed is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and you've obviously done that, and that's your passion. And um, you kind of got away from coaching. Obviously, you had to go do your college thing and get your
Hmm.
degree. And not so far away from it, you were still honing your tools in. You were learning how to read tape and learning how to to watch practices and watching high level Big Ten, right? Purdue.
Hmm.
Yeah, Big Ten. See, I'm retarded. Uh, Big Ten. That's like in football. It's like the SEC of wrestling, right? So you got to see high level coaches do it I'm sure you've got notebooks just filled with shit that you learned. Um, and you were able to come back out. Now, when you left, you came back to high school, right? And did high school, and then you did that, and then women get NCAA sanctioned. There's a school in Indiana that opens up. It's Trine. Um, but what made that the right place for you, taking over Trine University? Um, they got a couple badass logos. I saw them out there with little wrestlers and stuff. And uh, have you incorporated like a wrestling club also that's going to kind of feed into the programs? Um, I mean, what made it the right place, other than it being in Indiana?
Right.
That's
Well,
90% of it, but yeah.
yeah, there's quite a few things. When I was first starting coaching, I was just kind of doing it as a filler. I didn't think it could actually be a career for me. So I was doing it to save up money so I could pursue more education. I wanted to go to law school actually. And then as I got into coaching, it was just so rewarding and I loved it. I knew that women's wrestling was growing very quickly and it was growing on the collegiate level. And so my parents, they would be like, when are you going to get your life together? What are you going to do? And I'm like, just wait, there's going to be a college opportunity for me. I can do this as my job. So I just kind of, for a couple of years, floated, coached middle school, high school, elementary school clubs, and just pretty much filled my schedule with coaching wrestling. And then that opportunity presented itself to me. And I talked to the people at Trine and, they told me they were interested in seeing if I maybe wanted to coach. And then when I looked into the school, I got to see that it aligned a lot with my values, with education, very important to me, obviously. And then just the fact that they wanted to take the initiative to grow women's wrestling by hiring a female coach, that was a big deal to me. You don't see many of those. It's definitely getting more popular now, but I really liked that they wanted to do that. And that was something they kind of said was important to them as well. So I really felt like they were passionate about the same things I was passionate about. And it was just a perfect match. I got to see campus. It's beautiful. It's in Indiana, like you said.
Yeah.
And,
Say homegrown girl. I mean, it can't be bad, right? And you know the sport at a high level. Uh, what kind of philosophies and cultures do you think you'll bring into the room? Not just not just wrestling wise, but education wise too, making sure that not only are these girls becoming, winners on the wrestling mat, but winners in life.
yeah, I think there's a lot of important things you can take from wrestling that, their reach far extends wrestling itself. So, for example, like one thing I feel very passionate about in character-wise teaching my wrestlers is just the idea of having personal responsibility. I think that if an athlete or just a person in general ever wants to feel like they were successful, the only way to be responsible for those successes is to also be responsible for their failures. So that kind of mentality it goes way beyond athletics. In life, like things are going to seem unfair, and you're going to think this is so and so's fault. This is whatever. It's my boss's fault, or it's my professor's fault. Just kind of like erasing that from your mind and being able to say like, okay, part of this is my fault. What am I going to do to fix it? And the same thing in wrestling. I don't want my wrestlers being like, it was the referee's fault. They made a bad call. Like, you got to put that on yourself. It shouldn't have been up to the referee in the first place. So that's at least character wise one of the big things I want to teach. Culture wise in my room is really just about a love for wrestling. A lot of times that might get away from high level athletes. They kind of forget the reason why they started wrestling in the first place, especially with a sport that is just physically demanding. I mean, it can be grueling. It's not fun a lot of the times. So remembering that you love wrestling is a culture that I want to invite into my room and into my girls who join the program or anyone kind of affiliated with it. It's just that we're passionate about wrestling. We love it. We want to grow the sport. We want to advocate for ourselves and for others. And it's kind of, a lot to feel responsible for when you just want to worry about your own successes. But I think moving the sport forward is just as important as being successful in your own personal life. So that's a little bit of what I'm hoping to get. It's definitely not all about winning. I mean, obviously that's fun too.
Right, yeah, it's the goal.
But yeah, a little more of like a higher level goal would be just kind of refining women's wrestling and building stronger programs nationwide. And then hopefully soon, that means worldwide we'll be stronger. Not that we aren't already awesome, but
Yeah, and building
just,
an atmosphere where, boys and girls want to come back to Trine and get back to the program, and girls want to be involved and be there during the off season. Bjorg Guigny, I always mess up her name. She shouted you out, and then she put up these hands like this, and then Adam Gusky told me a great hat. Thank you, Adam. And then Coach Eric Floyd said those opportunities you have were created by your hard work and your commitment. So a few awesome things there. So now that there's more opportunities for girls, recruiting has to be, you can probably pick and choose kind of what type of girl you want now, or what type of girl you want to grow your program. I think before it was like, okay, there's an opportunity for a girl to wrestle, we want as many as we can, just come on, right? But I think
mhm.
now, Steve Hall said, Hoosier strong.
Yes.
I love to see the growth of women's wrestling in my home state. So that's awesome. Thanks, Steve, for chiming in. But yeah, I think it's nice girls have a choice now. They don't have to settle to, okay, well, if I want to wrestle in college, I have to go to here or there. Now they have choices. And what makes Trine on one side, what makes Trine the place for these girls? And then on your side, what do you need to see in these girls? What are you out there recruiting? What type of person, what type of athlete?
Mhm.
If someone wants to be a Trine wrestler, what do they need to be doing?
Right. So as far as what makes Trine a good fit for girls, I think that we have a spectacular academic program. So if they don't want to sacrifice their academics to go and wrestle in school, I mean, I feel like sometimes girls feel like they have to do that. You don't have to do that. And I think that's something that we can give them that a lot of other places might not be able to give them, is that we have like a fantastic placement rate for grad school or jobs. So you don't have to feel like you're just going to school to wrestle. You're not. You're going to school so you can get a degree, so you can get a job, and so you can wrestle.
Yeah.
And part of that is just the way Trine School is, and part of that is the way the administration and myself are really pushing academics as well as athletic success. So I think that's what makes Trine a good fit for girls, as far as what makes it, I don't know, other than wrestling.
Yeah.
And then for myself, what I'm looking for in athletes is kind of what I mentioned earlier, athletes who are passionate about wrestling and who love the sport. As far as technique wise and experience wise goes, that all can be taught. So to me, it's not as big and pressing as like, oh, you have all these great accomplishments. As long as you want to be there, I want you there, because that's who's going to build the program. That's who's going to be good. Wrestlers who are good but they don't really love the sport college wrestling is hard. So if they don't really love it, they're not sticking around. Obviously people who are good and love the sport are like, that's top notch. That's exactly what you
Well,
want.
they say that, I've heard people say that one of the goals is to keep a college student all 4 years as a wrestler. So many fall off. And
Hmm.
recruiting a freshman, I'm guessing you want to recruit someone that their goal is to stay, or you see that in them, right?
Yes, and every time I talk to girls, I ask them, I say, well, you want to wrestle in college. Do you have any goals of wrestling after college? And I'm so surprised by the amount of girls who would be like, no one's ever asked me that before. I'm like, well, I mean, you can do that. So I don't know why anyone hasn't. Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely a possibility for you. And if that's one of your goals, I want to help you get there. I don't think, especially where women's wrestling is at now, there's anything stopping a girl from, no matter what school she goes to, she can wrestle on the next level. And that's kind of the beauty of where women's wrestling is, because you don't have to be, for example, like men's wrestling, you have to be a D1 wrestler at an awesome school. It seems like if you want to wrestle any further, if you want to go onto the world level. But with women's wrestling, I mean, you could come from you can come from NAI, you can come from D3, D2, whatever, and still be able to kind of pursue that next level wrestling. So that's kind of, especially girls who say like, yeah, I do want to keep wrestling. I mean, it's okay if they don't want to, but that's how I know it's like, this is your life. It's something you want to do with your life and you care enough about it. I'm going to put in all my time into you and into this program. I just want someone who's going to give me a little bit back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely interesting to kind of see the different mentality of women wrestlers. One thing I'm very happy with is just the amount of support they all have for each other, and they do want to grow women's wrestling. So it's been a fun experience, just kind of recruiting and getting to talk and see people's perspectives.
Well, yeah, and obviously you definitely live in a world where women have exceeded at the next level. So, I mean, obviously you're able to to bring back photos and be like, look, there's 25 women right now that I'm showing you that are all at the world level that are kicking ass, right? So you too can be in that room. You can be at the USOC. You can be doing big things. And yeah, I mean, you're not talking out of your ass, right? I mean, you've been there,
Hmm.
been in the room. You've seen the growth of the sport from when you and your sister were little girls, and now to where you guys are coaching and still competing. So it's pretty awesome. I know a big thing with you is advocating for women's wrestling, and then also um, reaching out and maybe educating people on how to build girls programs at the high school level, because I feel like there's a few things that happens. Either you have coaches that I don't think, and I don't think there's any coach out there that's like, okay, I hate girls. I don't want girls to be around me. Stuff, right? I don't think that's the case,
Right.
right? I think it's more, girls aren't sanctioned in our state, so it's more difficult to get schools to fund the programs and then build it up. And then there's also the people that come from the side of, well, I'm a little nervous what kind of backlash I'm going to get if I have girls and boys in the same room, or parents, or whatever. How do you build that confidence up? How do you change that perception? And how have you been able to do that in Indiana?
Yeah, so I definitely think one of the biggest things you need to start doing as a coach who is looking to grow a women's program is to start by making this clear line, this definition between your men's team and your women's team. Like you were saying, like if parents don't want girls on the guys team, I think that is kind of like decreasing the amount of backlash from that. Um, but just creating your girls team can do wonders. And obviously it's not going to be like that right away. And that's where you as a coach has to come in and just start recruiting. I mean, if you want to start a program, it's not going to start itself. So being able to, the way we found a lot of success, at least at Penn High School, was being in the classrooms, in the school, in the hallways, getting to see kids and just kind of calling out to them and being like, hey, you look athletic, you want to try wrestling? um, we would just pull people just straight off the streets. If they looked like they needed a place, a lot of times people want to be a part of a team. So being able to tell a girl like, hey, you can belong here, you can do this, we want you here, I'm going to invest my time in you, that means a lot. And especially to a high school girl, she wants to be a part of something. And it might take some persistence, definitely. There are some people, I'm sure they're just like, gosh, is she ever going to stop? But you're a salesman, essentially. You're selling your sport, you're selling your team. And that's, you got to be a little annoying to do that.
If you have a program like a boys program that's only been a few years old, and you're still trying to grow that program, I mean, you haven't filled 14 spots yet. I mean, you're still building, and that's kind of your goal. can adding a girls program trigger that and build it quicker, or do you recommend focus on getting that built and then move on to the next step?
I definitely think there's no reason you shouldn't be adding a girls team. If you're looking to grow wrestling, um, I mean, you'll grow wrestling by getting more wrestlers. It shouldn't matter if they're a boy or a girl. And it might end up your girls team is more successful than your boys team. That could happen. And that's totally okay. If you're not getting the people you want for a boys team, but there's a possibility, there's a demand, you could get it for your girls team. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't do that. And I mean, high schoolers have friends. They'll invite their friends, whether they're a guy or a girl. And just getting the sport talked about is important, getting people to come to. That's one thing that's always been awesome is our girls team is very well attended and they love to cheer, and such a fun environment. It's actually just kind of different than the boys tournaments are. So just kind of getting that for wrestling is such great exposure.
Add boys cheerleaders to the women's teams.
That would be amazing. We need cheerleaders for wrestling, man. We need it. Get like a halftime show, although tournaments are long enough as is, so maybe not, but
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's been your specialty, right? Is building programs. And now you're getting a chance to do it at a whole other level, right? And you've only been there how long now?
So I've been here for a couple months. I'm trying to think. I got the job in late February, so early-ish March, when everything just kind of went to hell in a handbasket. But
Of course. So have you noticed anything, obviously at a high school level, there's high school, college. Can you kind of plug and play your systems, or have you noticed that you can really tell you're on, this is like next level type shit, like you're in a different game here? Or can you kind of plug and play your systems and see that they can work at any level?
So as far as like recruiting goes,
Yeah, recruiting, your coaching,
just
kids in the room. I mean, is it similar?
yeah, it is similar in a lot of ways, especially wrestling. It doesn't really change no matter what level you're at, and I think that's a very common misconception. I know, like, when I would come back to the high school team after I'd been helping my sister out, they're like, "Oh, Coach Hildy, teach us some of the moves they're learning at the OTC." And I'm like, "Well, they're working on single legs and like just like it's the same stuff. It doesn't change. It's just maybe a little tiny detail. Oh, move your head up half an inch." And that's kind of boring, but there's definitely it's finding those perfections within the things you've already done, minimizing the amount of transition times, just being able to see wrestling and know wrestling and instinctually chain those things together. That to me is the higher level wrestling. And I'm very fortunate that I've been able to kind of absorb all this wisdom from so many different people, whether it be athletes competing now or, coaches, media people. I mean, the involvement in wrestling community is phenomenal.
Siblings?
I've been able, yes, siblings. My siblings are for sure my number one resource. But I've been able to absorb so much from them. So coaching at the collegiate level, I feel pretty confident in my ability to do that. And I think, the things I taught the girls in high school are the good things that you want to teach them in college and further on. It's just kind of refining it and getting it to be more of that fluid motion is where I'll probably see the biggest difference. Obviously, I haven't got much time to work with people, but
You'll get there. Do you try to get down to Central Michigan for some matches?
Yeah. So last year I made it to almost every single home match. I am like such a huge fan, always wearing my Central Michigan gear. And I love their team. And
yeah, I mean, their coach is a legend. I mean, I think he's the active winningest coach, but the humans that I've met that have come out of his program that are around the country that are just amazing is incredible what he's doing. I mean, you've got Scotty Sentis is now coaching at Campbell, and you've got Jake Britt, and you've got BB Train down here. And I mean, I can somehow early on, I met him and then I met like Connor Beebe, and then all of a sudden for like 2 weeks, all I had was like Central Michigan people on my show. They were coming on from around the country because it kind of spidered into that, and it was pretty cool to kind of see what they're doing. You know, it's like I had Grandview. I had some the girls coach at Grandview on Arelis Valles, and then I got to get a bunch of their hammers came on, and they were all talking. It was cool to hear these girls speak and talk and, you know, advocate obviously for Iowa wrestling, and the girls over there are trying to get sanctioned as well. And but it's been cool. I think would you say that I think part of the positives that have come out of this pandemic too is I don't think we heard the voices for sanctioning and advocating women's wrestling as loud as we're hearing them now, because we've had time to, I mean, I think the same people are screaming, but now that people are home and doing these shows and not able to be at tournaments, we're hearing, and there's been I think, more opportunity to get in front of these high school associations and really get in their ear and really have bigger, longer, in-depth discussions. And do you see that that's working? Obviously, we're seeing states start to fall, right? So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. I haven't really thought of it that way, but it definitely seems like one, news sources, I mean, everyone just has more time and things have just kind of slowed down. So media outlets are like, we need more stories. And then there's like, wow, look at all these stories over here from women's wrestling. And at the same time, you know, wrestlers are like, we don't have anything to do, and it's like, wow, look at all these interviews, and it's like, ooh, perfect match, we can do all this stuff. And then the people consuming it are like, wow, there's nothing to do, might as well just watch this video or watch this interview, read this article. So it is interesting to see kind of when you take, you know, wrestling away, how wrestling continues to be there. Yeah, that's
cool.
a good, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, I was thinking, because I mean, I've been around the sport just a short time, right? But I mean, you obviously hear, and I mean, I guess in life, I've never looked at men and women as different human beings. So I guess I don't see that. Like, I mean, I know men and women are different human, but you know, I never thought like they can't do this or they can't do that. So, but I think I've just heard it louder now, right? I mean, you heard rumbles of women are starting to come along. But it's really blossomed into something that's big and it's good, and I hope that that they can get promoted so that they get the leverage they need to be able to ask for more money, to be able to be on the top stages. And I think there's a lot of badasses out there right now. I've been lucky enough to talk to a couple of them. I've had Jackie Davis, Bjorg Wiegny, I've had Catherine Shea, Victoria Francis, Julie Salata, you. I've had some really awesome girls on, and they're all looking forward to big things. And some of them are still trying to make it to Tokyo, right? In Tokyo. So nothing. I asked them how their mindset changed for that extra year. They're like, well, after I hit the buffet and ate a bunch of steak and pizza because I didn't have to cut that day, no, we reevaluated, right? But I'm sure in Colorado Springs they took a break for a minute and then got back on it. But it's been cool. It's been awesome. And, you know, I hope we continue to see dominoes fall and you guys, girls, do big things. Like I was talking to some girls, Wara Bonnie over in Virginia, and she's funny. She's like, I hate it when they say, wow, you're pretty good for a girl. She's like, yeah, well, my body parts don't make me more or less of a wrestler. Like, I'm learning the same things you are, right? I'm getting taught the same wrestling you are. It's not like I'm in a room learning a different sport, right? She was funny. It was pretty good. But man, this has been awesome. And you know, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. And you know, we'll do the 10 questions, have a little fun, and then I'll let you get back to building your program.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's been cool. I enjoy it. It's fun for me. I guess I get to learn wrestling. I can't wait to see it through my new eyes. I tell people when I go to that first tournament and go, I learned what that means. I know why that coach is yelling that now. Like, never thought about that before. Good good job, coach. Before I was like, you're an idiot. You suck. That makes sense, right? So that's cool. All right. So what I did was I kind of took your area. You're a longtime Penn girl. So I kind of went around Indiana, around that area. And I said, I found 2 barbecue places, T. Allen's or City Barbecue.
Ooh, tough. Okay. I'll go City Barbecue.
All right. I love it. Like yesterday, I had someone on and I did the meat thing and they're like, I'm a vegan. I'm like, oh shit. That was my kind of questions. And he's like, no, go ahead. I like meat. I just can't eat it right now. All right. Like, damn it. All right. Are you a Colts girl or a Pacers girl?
Colts all the way.
Five Guys or Culver's?
Ooh, Five Guys.
And then go to Culver's for the ice cream?
Yeah.
Do you do like the Indiana Zoo, Indiana Aquarium?
I like zoos. Yeah, I prefer zoos over aquariums.
Zoos are fun. I heard that some of these zoos are doing drive-through zoos now. It's pretty cool.
Like a safari.
Yeah. Okay. Little Mexican for you, Fiesta Tapatía or Puerto Vallarta?
Oh gosh. I don't know. I don't eat much Mexican food. Man, you're stumping me on.
All right. Well, there's no rules to this, so you can say they both suck. I don't want to go there. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. I know you know these two. Oreos or Chips Ahoy?
Oh, yeah, that's hard. Sometimes it depends on the mood, but I think overall I'll go Oreos.
Yeah. Double stuff or single stuff?
Double stuffed.
Of course, right? Got to do that. All right. Little pizza, Luigi's or Pasquale's?
Pasquale's.
Yeah. You know what I try and do? I find a location that you were at for a long time, and then I go to like maps, and then I go like nearby, and then I pull like pizza place. And then it pulls up all these places, and I go, okay, who's got the most reviews? That means they must be the most popular. So then I grab those too. And that's how I come up with this. Unless I have someone from Orlando on, then I know the places, right? Or place I've been, right? You go power bars or granola bars?
Granola. I like granola, yeah.
Yeah, I had someone yesterday, he's like, and I like the ones dipped in chocolate.
Yeah, I think everyone does.
Yeah. Hannah Yori or Bonefish Grill?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's Haniori. Oh my gosh, like one of my favorite restaurants. So
Hannah Yori. I found a good spot. Yeah, I love sushi. You obviously do too.
Yes.
I posted a picture. I don't know if I put it on Instagram or my Facebook, but I'm 44 years old. I have kids now. One just turned 12 and the other one turns 15 this weekend. I love sushi and I've always wanted to make it myself, but I never had to because I was like, okay, I want sushi today. I'll just go buy it, right? So this past weekend, we did it ourselves for the first time ever. Like we went and got little things and we cut the seaweed and it was so much fun. What a blast. If you ever want to do something fun, I would guess as a coach, like with your girls, that would be something cool. Like you do a cook night or something or a food night and you get a bunch of those little mats. They're not expensive. You go to like a Chinese Orient store or whatever and you make rolls and stuff. You do like a competition, everybody taste them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. All right. So are you a beer girl or a wine girl?
Wine. Yeah, definitely wine over beer.
Yeah, most athletes, I think, because the beer kind of bubbles in your belly, right? The wine is
all those, yeah.
Have you, before we leave, has wrestling allowed you to travel to a lot of cool places that you might have never had the opportunity to go to before? And where has been your favorite place to visit?
Yeah, wrestling's definitely allowed me to travel places. In fact, I feel like the only traveling I ever do is through wrestling. Favorite place to visit? I'm trying to think. Well, probably Japan would have been my favorite. I can't wait till I get to do that.
You'll get there.
But aside from that, man, I'm just trying to think. Honestly, going to Colorado was one of the best places, and being there and seeing the Olympic Training Center. I know it's kind of boring.
No, I think it's pretty cool to see how that sister bond is, because I had Geneva Gray on, and she said the same thing you said. When her sister's training for the Olympics, she's the training partner. She said, I go and I get thrown around and I coach her, and that, you know, obviously it's pretty cool to see like the coaching aspect of one sister and then the competing aspect of it. But together you guys make obviously look at Adeline and look at Sarah. So it's pretty cool how that works. I found that interesting.
Yeah, it's awesome just to have that, built-in support system too. So I couldn't be more fortunate that like just the resources I have in my own family.
Yeah, it's neat. I like how that works. And I really I try to, when I have someone on who has a sibling at a higher level, I try and stay away from that, because I know you get enough of that. And that's cool. I did hear though a funny story when you were with Mr. Klingeman there, where you said people come up to you sometimes and they're like, "Hey Sarah, can we have your autograph?" And that's pretty funny. I guess you're so nice and innocent. You're like, "No, I'm not Sarah." But I think if I had someone like that, I'd be like, "Yeah, come on over here." And then they'd be showing their friends somewhere down the road, and someone would be like, "You idiot, that's the sister." Like, that's so dummy. Like,
Yeah, I
that's,
definitely could troll some people.
but I don't know. I mean, listen, I'd want your autograph too. Look how much you've done for a sport that's amazing. So keep doing your thing, and you know, you're bringing it your own way, and that's pretty cool to see because you have two high-level siblings, but that's not the avenue you took. You took it a different avenue, and you wanted to be on the other end of it, and it's pretty cool because I think that the expectations typically for younger siblings to be as good or as great as the older siblings can maybe have an effect on your mindset, or even have an effect on loving the sport anymore, because I'm not Sarah or I'm not Drew, right? I'm
Hmm.
Amy. And it's pretty cool to see where you said, okay, well, I'll take my own path, and this is the path I want to be. I want to be a coach, and that's what I'm going to do. Could I have locked down and trained as hard as them and maybe gotten to a different level? Sure, anything you put your mind to can happen, right? But it's cool that you never allowed that to affect you. You never allowed that to be something that caused you to stray from a sport you loved, and you decided, well, I'll go this way, and this way works for me. And now you're doing it at a high level. So congratulations, and that's awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been an awesome experience. I can't wait to see where it takes me.
Yeah, and then of course I heard all the support you get back from your family, and uh, I'm sure the lessons that come out of the Olympic Center and out of Central Michigan are huge at helping you grow your coaching aspect. So um, it couldn't be better. And I look forward to being a Trine University women's wrestling fan. I'm in.
Yes. Thank you so much.
I'll do it. Thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. And you know, getting anybody on my show is amazing, but to get, high level women in the sport like yourself is amazing. And thanks so much for coming on. And it's amazing how humble everybody is. And I love it. And keep kicking life's ass, and obviously kick Division III's ass.
That's right. Yep. Thanks for having me.
And obviously good luck to your family, NCAAs. Good luck to your sister in Tokyo. Hopefully we get there next year, and I'll be rooting for USA.
Sweet. Thank you.